Ja, hallo. Ich sitze hier bei mir zu Hause und auf der anderen Seite, quasi auf der anderen Seite des Planeten, sitzt Masha. Einige werden sie kennen. Ich habe mal ein Video von ihr übersetzt vom Kanal von John Dougan. Und ja, Masha ist eine Augenzeugin. Do you understand what I'm saying? My announcement?
Ja, sicher.
Ja,
Ja.
sicher, sicher, klar. Ist also eine Augenzeugin aus dem Donbass. Sie macht humanitäre Hilfe und war jetzt neulich wieder zweimal im Donbass. Was it a couple of thousand kilometers you've been driving? Yeah, more than 1,000
Ja.
kilometers. Okay,
Yeah. Only I'm not driving, I'm a passenger.
pardon? I didn't
I
understand
said
it.
I'm not driving. I'm a passenger.
Okay, so you can sleep while you're driving and you have your.
I can, but I don't. I'm a
Okay,
diligent passenger who talks to the driver and distracts the driver and makes sure the driver doesn't sleep.
well, that might keep the driver awake. Yeah,
Exactly. That's what I'm doing. Telling
okay,
them stories and whatnot.
okay. Um, so we are switching to English now. I will have to translate it afterwards. So the audience is German, yeah, mainly, and maybe a bit Russian. And the first time I heard about you was in the video that I've translated. You were, uh, can you give a short conclusion of what your experience was, how it came that you went to Donbass? Just the short version.
Okay. The short version is I went there as an interpreter of an American citizen, former citizen, don't even know how to call that, who now acts as a journalist because it is very difficult to find journalists who would report the real situation from Donbass to the West. The professional, proper journalists who go there are mostly there from the Ukrainian side, and they don't reach Donbass. They report from Kiev, whatever they are told to report. So there is absolutely no truth that they are reporting. And this lacune, if you will, is filled by enthusiasts who have to become journalists. And what they do is they do exactly that. They take interviews, they talk to local people, they talk to local authorities, to local representative of the local government and whatnot, to everybody who would agree to deliver the message so that the real story of Donbass would be heard. So I guess I can call this guy now a journalist as well, although he's not, but he is. His
I,
name is John Mark Dougan. He's from the US. He used to work in the police. And in this regard, what he did is sort of akin to the journalistic job, because as a policeman, you have to come to a place and investigate what happened there and make conclusions and report it as it was. And basically, that's what he's doing. He went there several times before without me and realized that a need of the personal translator, designated translator, is an absolute. You have to have it to do it properly, because unfortunately he doesn't speak Russian much.
yeah, he
And
lives in.
the translation of services that he found there, well, let's say they were very far from being satisfactory, unfortunately. So we went, and that's how I got there for the first time. That
Okay.
was in August, and the result of that trip, that interview, you successfully translated. I was, by the way, very impressed by your translation. That was really awesome, really good.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not doing this very often, so it was actually the first live translation I did, and well, it was an experiment for me. Um, I saw it first because Thomas Röper has linked it from his Antispiegel.
Mm-hmm.
You know the blog of Thomas?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay. And he linked it, and in the text he wrote that he unfortunately it's only in English. So he- I thought I was impressed by the video. I absolutely impressed because of course, we are a certain breed of people, and we know what's really happening. And I was searching for eyewitnesses. Yeah, so that's how it came to the translation. And for me, you were the perfect eyewitness because in the beginning you had a different attitude, right?
Yes, I had no idea what was happening. I went absolutely unprepared, without, well, I tried to have no expectations at all. I tried to clear my mind completely, but I still know that as I look back, that I had a certain bias in the beginning. And when I went there, from the very beginning, everything that I thought I knew went to pieces. It was just absolutely crashed by the reality. I had to accept that nothing that I knew was true.
Okay.
And it was actually Thomas. It's funny enough, all the absolutely main things that defined my steps further on were due to just a couple of words that Thomas said. All of them. When I returned and John was trying to convince me to do that interview, I refused. I didn't want to be in the camera. I didn't want to be on camera at all. I mean, on the picture anywhere. I even asked him at first to maybe change my voice or something. I didn't want to be in any way involved in it because of my convictions that I am on the side of the aggressor. I didn't want people to know that. And when in the beginning, right? And when I returned, Thomas was like, do you understand that you now owe to these people? They have to have their story told. And it's both to the West and to the Russians. This is your duty. And it took me, like a revelation to realize what he's saying. Like, yes, it is now my duty to deliver that message.
Okay, and that's actually
Another thing that he said was, I would go anywhere, even on CNN, even on BBC, anywhere, to any platform to speak, regardless of what I think about this platform, because I want people to hear me. I want to have a chance to tell that to people so that the people would have a chance to hear the truth. That was another crucial thing that he said that convinced me to talk to everybody. So I went to Russia Today. I went to do this interview with Yulia Minshova. I did all that, although before the trip, I wouldn't get close to Russia Today for billions, paid to me. Like, I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
I returned. I went there for free. Also for the German version of Russia Today and for the English version of Russia Today, I went everywhere.
So you have actually aired
as
in
a part
German
of my
language?
duty. I'm sorry?
You have aired, you were live in, or you have been broadcasted in Germany as well?
It was broadcasted in Germany, yes. It wasn't live, it was a recording. Both me and John were invited to the German channel of Russia Today. We were introduced to the people there, and we did a short, well, it's like part of the program, short interview for maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then, yes, it was translated into German, and it was aired in Germany, yes.
You know that Russia Today is censored in Germany, yeah?
I know it's censored everywhere outside Russia.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
but who has a will find it. It's a matter of VPN. It's possible.
It's simply a matter of browser settings. I can browse to Russia Today. So, you said that you went there with John for the first time. So John is an American.
Yes.
And he worked for the police. What is the reason that John is in Russia?
There's a movie about it.
Okay.
On his channel.
So we can link the movie.
Apparently, yeah. I will send you the link. He put it on his channel.
Okay.
So while working in the police, John was watching the corruption and crimes committed by his fellow men. And in his fight for justice against these crimes, he eventually created a website where anyone could post anonymously about the wrong stuff that is done by police. John himself apparently made 19 unauthorized recordings.
Okay.
And posted them on the site. So they were made without order, and therefore they were illegal. And okay, so John has made 19 recordings, posted them on that site. If I understand it right, that resulted with a lot of arrests, a lot of mess caused to quite highly placed officials. And well, basically, he is guilty. He indeed recorded these conversations. He indeed had no order to do that, no permission to do that. He indeed made them public. And for each of those recordings, he is supposed to go to jail for 5 years. So if he ever returns to the US, it's 95 years that he must spend in prison. So he fled.
So he has political asylum in Russia.
Yes,
Okay.
he received political asylum in Russia.
Okay, we talked about you being in Donbass now for several times. I've also watched your
Yeah,
footage.
6 times now.
How many times? Sorry, I didn't understand it.
6.
Ooh.
6.
So tell me about your experience.
Since August.
Okay, tell me about it, or tell us about it. Okay, we were with your experience in Donbass. So just
Well, yeah, like I said, I've been here now 6 times, and last 2 times I went there without John and without Mike. So that was purely humanitarian trips without anything journalistic or reporting or anything. I still made a little videos because I thought it was important for Mike's and John's subscribers to see them, as all these trips are funded by their subscribers. There is this site, Buy Me a Coffee, and people donate, and I use this money to make this humanitarian trips possible, to buy everything that is needed and all of that. So I thought it was important to make videos as some sort of a reporting that, that it's really happening, that stuff really gets delivered, really gets purchased. And yeah, so the last 2 trips were purely that. The most recent one was just a week ago. I returned from there on Monday last week. And during that trip, we went to very close to the front lines, to the line of contact, to Svatova, to Kremenная, to Volchiyarovka, to all these areas in the LPR, in the northwestern part of it, and also in Donetsk region, because Donetsk itself, and part of Donetsk, is already basically a line of contact. Well, we went there as well and delivered stuff to the medical personnel there and to some DPR militia units as well.
okay.
And well, what can I see? I see an incredible courage and incredible strength in everyone I talk to. I see that these people shall fight, and they shall win, because what they're doing is right. And as you probably heard, the strength is in truth. The truth is on their side. So they shall win. Ukraine can't win over them. Impossible. They will not give up.
Okay.
And all we can do is support them and deliver that message to the world that what is happening because Ukraine is in the wrong and Donbass people are in the right.
So
it's just the universal justice.
I hope so. That's the conviction of a breed of people like we are. Yeah, but there are a lot of other people, especially in my country, where the propaganda machine is running and hammering
Yeah. Tell me
And
about it.
I guess you know. I've sent you a video yesterday,
Hmm.
I think. Did you have a look on it or at it, or did you peek into it?
I haven't yet. It's a 2 hours video, right?
Yeah. Okay. I tell you about it. It's from a
I had almost no internet the whole day last night.
yeah.
It's
Okay.
it's not
No,
so
no, no, no.
easy.
It's no
Yeah.
problem. I gave you a conclusion. So it's about a German free journalist of the independent press,
Hmm.
and I think he was in politics before, and then did some reportings about what was the plane that was shut down by Malaysian Airlines in 2014? Do you remember that?
MH17, that
MH17, yeah,
flight? Yes,
yeah.
sure, of course.
So
Yeah.
he showed some evidence that Russia did not shut down MH17. He was imprisoned in
Yeah.
Syria. He was in a prison in Venezuela, and I think in both cases he was helped by Lavrov himself or by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia to get out again. And now he went to
Hmm.
Kharkiv. Oh, how do you pronounce it? Kharkov? What is the correct?
Kharkov is the Russian version.
Uh,
Kharkov is the Russian version.
okay,
Kharkiv is the Ukrainian version.
okay, Kharkov.
Our languages are very, well, not very similar, but somewhat similar. But there is a little discrepancy in how we pronounce names. So if you want to say it in Ukrainian, you say Kharkiv. If you want to say it in Russian, you say Kharkov.
Yeah, it's sometimes with the different names. It's sometimes very, very confusing. For example, Zaporozhye. I've heard dozens of
Yes, I,
pronunciation
I
of
know.
Zaporozhye.
I,
That's
look,
it's
look, it's the same. It's the same as, for example, French say Paris. Everybody says Paris. We say Paris. That's the
Paris.
Russian version of the word. Yes. Or Hamburg.
Yeah,
The Russian version is Gamburg. See? It's just the way it's pronounced. So Kharkiv in Ukrainian and Kharkov in Russian. Pick the language that you want to imitate in German, and that's your answer.
um, I'm having even having a hard time distinguishing between Russians and Ukrainians in Germany. I can't tell them apart. They look the same. They
Because
speak.
there is no difference.
I know,
Because we are the same.
I know.
Just don't tell it to the Ukrainians. They will probably kill you for that, but we are the same.
Oh, I know some Ukrainians. I don't know many Ukrainians. I know much more people from Kazakhstan and Russia, but I know some Ukrainians who see it the same way. So it's not all Ukrainians. It's maybe those who got indoctrinated. But let's continue with the ballistic story. So here we go again. So
Okay.
I wanted to ask you about the. Okay, if you haven't seen it, it's a bit difficult. So he was in Kharkiv and has seen the whole thing from the other side of the fence,
Yep.
and there were things that irritating things about his report he made there. He, for example, he recorded some civilian buildings, a school, and the people, the eyewitnesses, told him this school was bombed from the Russian side with rockets from Belgorod. And it was very, very irritating for me because until this point in time, I believed, okay, the whole thing is done like a special operation, as it was declared by Russia, and they are trying to avoid civilian victims and collateral damage. So I would like,
Yes, that's true.
okay, yeah, I would like to have,
If you fire a missile
uh,
into an object that you believe to be the military object,
yeah,
maybe it's a warehouse of some weapons that you know is there, maybe it's some infrastructure object, and this missile flies over a residential area, and the Ukrainian air defense hits it over the residential area because the Ukrainian side considers that the lives of the civilians are less important than whatever it is where this rocket is flying to. Whose fault is that? If Ukrainian side has their air defense units located inside the residential areas of their cities and they shoot from there and the rockets fall on their residential buildings, whose fault is that?
Okay, is it a case like that? I don't know. I just have the information.
Can be.
Can be.
Can be. There is a very famous case, I think in Dnipro, I may be mistaken about the name of the town, where the Ukrainian rocket hit half a building and all these stories, it's multi-storied building, are collapsed completely, like everything in Mariupol or Severodonetsk or so many places in Donbass. So they experienced it the same way themselves and they were outraged, and the photo of this house and the videos from there were all over the place, horrible Russians, without saying that it was a Ukrainian rocket hit by Ukrainian air defense.
Okay, I know.
And it fell over this building.
I know about all these what do you call them, drones? You call them drones? Yeah, that were
drones. Yes.
Yeah, when they, for example, when they have been bombing the electric infrastructure in Western Ukraine, and some of them were shut down and fell into buildings. But as he told, it was a different story. I don't know whether it was simply, I don't know. I just wanted to hear your opinion about that because I was irritated.
My opinion is that it is, and that comes from conversations with absolutely everybody I talked to, and I talked to a lot of military people as well, is that there's absolutely zero intention to harm any civilian population of Ukraine. Any civilian person. There is no intention to harm any one of them. They are regarded as victims who are in the enemy territory. Well, I hate to say it, but enemy territory. And the intention is to save lives, not to kill them at all. So can a Russian missile hit a building when it's shot down by the air defense of Ukraine, so it falls on the residential building? Can it happen? Of course it can. Is this residential building a target of this missile? No. And I'm sure that it's not. Unless this residential building is, I don't know, is used as a base for the military of the Ukrainian, for the Ukrainian soldiers or something, then it's a military target. Like, you know, it can happen.
Like
they
Mariupol,
can occupy. Mariupol is a different story, Karsten.
Okay. Yeah.
What we know of Mariupol has nothing to do with reality. Mariupol is destroyed by Azov.
I know.
When Russian forces came into Mariupol, it was already destroyed. It was already in the condition we found it.
Yeah.
No one will talk about it. And it was the words of these people from Azov. It was exactly their words. If we have to tear down the city, we shall, but you will not take it. And they did. So what we took, we as Russians, what we took were the ruins of the city, but these ruins are ruins because of what Azov did.
That's actually the storyline I've heard from.
Yes.
I cannot verify it. I've never been there. I even never went to Russia. Yeah, so I've never been there. I've never seen it. But that's the storyline you're hearing when you're talking to people who have been there, who were eyewitnesses.
Yes.
Oh, when you, I'm not.
Yes.
You're the first.
It's all on John's channel. It's on Mike's channel.
Yeah, I know.
It's everywhere. Yeah.
I know. Thomas is reporting about it. So you talked about your mission. Yeah. So the next point would be Masha's mission, or Masha's mission.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You already talked about that.
To me, it was. Yeah. To me, it was an absolute, not even surprise. It was an absolute shock of how many people donate, and how much money people donate because they want to help Donbass. So I took it upon myself as a mission. I became a channel to deliver their help to Donbass, because no way I could be doing it myself. No way I could, I don't know, somehow miraculously accumulate that much money to make it happen. It's not cheap to go there, each time. And it's not cheap to buy all this stuff, because it's still money. And all this is subscribers of Drone and Mike. And now also subscribers that are signed up to a Telegram of one journalist who lives in Donetsk, Igor Gomolsky. So when I was collecting money for the 200 boots for the soldiers, all these donations happened to my personal credit card, Russian card. So all these donations were from Russia.
Okay.
And I managed to collect the required amount within basically 24 hours. Like,
Unbelievable.
just like that.
Really?
So to me, it was such a sign of, of the unity of the country, because they would write in a comment where they are from. And it's everywhere, from Kamchatka to Kaliningrad, everywhere. People and they all sent such and such town. God bless you for the soldiers. Everybody needs to have boots. Everybody needs to keep their feet warm. Please help them. It's for that. It's for the boots. It's for the boots. For the boots. And listing their towns. It's the whole country standing together. And it is another thing that was so important for me from what Thomas has said, that now it's my duty, because I know that there are so many people in Russia who are in the same position where I was before that trip. Families fall apart. People get divorced. People stop talking to their parents. People stop talking to their siblings. It's like a civil war inside families, because they're misinformed, because they're lied to. They suffer. They start to hate their country, even though it is in Russian blood to be a patriot. It's what we are. And they start to almost hate their country, because they do not know what is happening. So I saw it as a duty to try to deliver the message that they're being lied to on such a scale that it's beyond comprehension. Because all of this happens not because people are so bad or mean. It happens because they're misinformed. And they have no way of even suspecting that they're misinformed. They think that they know, and they have no reasons to doubt what they know.
Yeah.
So good that this MSM is.
I would like to
So
contradict.
convincing, so perfect.
I would like to contradict,
That it gets
but
to them.
I have no argument to contradict your words. I would like to, but it's the same experience I'm having since for 20 years now. Yeah, I observed this.
Yeah. Well,
change.
for me personally, I had to go there, and I had to have my world fall apart. Like that, as I called it, extreme red pilling, to realize how much I did not know, and actually how much I was lied to. Because it's absolute lies.
Yeah, that's what one thing.
And it's horrible.
Yeah, that's what one thing that impressed me most with your with the translation I've made. That you had I mean, it was an extreme switch from one side to the other for you. Yeah, so I have the advantage that.
Well, it would be for anybody.
Yeah.
It would be for anybody with the same mindset and the same set of beliefs to go there and to see for yourself. It would be the same kind of explosion in the brain. Yeah.
So, but you recovered from that. You have recovered. Your life has changed.
It's true. It's true. It's all of a sudden gained some sort of meaning. Because all I do is this. I don't do anything else, and I don't want to do anything else. Because compared to that, nothing is meaningful at all. Nothing has any value or importance. I don't want to waste money on time on a regular job, being in the office, I don't know, moving papers from one place to the other or whatever. I don't want to waste time on that when I can go there and deliver stuff to people there.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, it's actually what life is about. Yeah,
Yeah.
serving other people.
As a matter of fact, I don't think I ever felt more alive than when I'm there.
Okay,
Because you are on the edge.
yeah, and
You
you're
see that whatever you think your problems are, they're non-existent.
in danger.
They are nothing because you see the real problems. Well, I wouldn't say. I it's a common question. It's a very frequent question. Are you afraid? You're in danger? I never felt being in danger. I constantly feel that I am very much protected. Again, because what I'm doing is right. So I'm protected.
I hope so.
And everyone who's with me is protected.
I hope
I
so.
promise you that's the case. I have my angels and they are very strong angels. They won't let me down.
Okay, let's proceed with the list.
Sure.
You talked about the finding of the truth in Donbass. You talked about humanitarian aid. Um, I'm very curious about your. I've never been. I told you I've never been to Russia. Yeah, so I'm a bit, and we have a lot of Russians here. For example, my parents, they live in a different town, 40 kilometers north of here, and they're surrounded by people from Kazakhstan and from Russia, and from people from Turkey. My mother goes shopping in a Russian store where the people speak Russian. Okay.
Mhm. So you say that there are a lot of Russians in Germany.
Yeah.
There are indeed many Russians in Germany. That's my experience as well. I was one of them during some time.
Okay.
And you started to say something about your parents.
Yeah. Uh, my parents, they live in a region where, let's say, there are a lot of Russians. There are a lot of people from Turkey, a lot of
Hmm.
Russians, from Africa, Arabs, from Poland, and so on. And you walk through the street, and
Hmm.
sometimes you only see, you don't see any German. You see Russians, people from Poland, black people, and so on.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so we are getting a good impression of the people being here. Yeah? So of the culture of the people. Most of them speak German. That's very bad because
Hmm.
Americans. I already told you by texting that Americans are lazy. They don't speak German. Yeah, when they have been here, uh, you were forced to speak English. But it's not so easy with Russians because Russians mostly speak very well German. So it's
Well,
hard to.
it's true. It was my problem when I lived in Germany. Nobody spoke German to me. Everybody spoke English to me. I was Paganel. I learned the wrong language. I did my best to learn German, went there, and everybody only spoke English to me. Because for them it was the same which language to speak, and for me it was obviously easier to speak English than German, and it was like immediate switch. They did it as a courtesy, like okay, then we speak English. And the only person who spoke German to me was my neighbor, which was 98 years old at the time. Perfect person. Loved her to the bits. From the downstairs. She was the only one who spoke German to me in Germany. Yes.
Okay, if she was 98, she probably didn't know any
Yeah,
English. Where have you been in
that's
Germany?
true. I had no choice. Huh?
Where
In
have you been?
Hamburg.
Hamburg. Okay, it's the other side of
In
the country.
Yeah.
I live in the south.
Yes, I think it's one of the most wonderful cities in the world. I very much loved it.
Really? Okay, we were in Hamburg. Hamburg? Hamburg? Gamburg?
Yeah, I lived in Hamburg. Yeah, in Hamburg. I would say moin moin
Mhm.
and all that. And I think it's one of the best cities in Germany and one of the best cities in the world. I loved it there very much.
Okay, have you been to the south of
It
Germany?
was great time.
Have you been to
Oh
the
yeah,
south?
I've been to Schwarzwald, to Karlsruhe, Karlsbad, that area, and to well Stuttgart, to München,
Okay.
to well quite everywhere in Bayern, I would say, and also then up to Berlin. I mean, I tried to travel around to Frankfurt, of course, even to Helgoland when we go north.
Okay.
You
So
know, with the
you've
fields
been to
that
Bavaria?
actually defined my future.
Yeah. You've been to
Yes.
Bavaria? So I've made
That was
this
my very first trip to Germany. It was to
I made this
München.
T-shirt last year.
Grüß Gott!
Grüß Gott.
Grüß Gott is Bavaria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Awesome.
yeah. Because I saw people from Kazakhstan greeting with Salam Alaikum, yeah, which means
Yeah.
may God
Yeah.
bless you all. Yeah, and I thought, okay, we have the same thing in Germany. We have a Grüß Gott, so I made this
Yeah.
T-shirt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in Kazakhstan there are so many Muslims, so it's the common Muslim greeting.
Yeah.
It's common not just for Kazakhstan, but for all Muslim countries. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Okay, you've been in Hamburg. That's and in the rest of Germany, you've seen all regions. Have you been to my city? No.
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 Unfortunately not.
It's let's say it's not as beautiful
Yes.
as it used. It's not as beautiful as it used to be before World War II. Yeah, but it's still impressive because it's in a valley, and you have hills all around it. Not very high, about 100 meters, and we have a very nice fortress. Krepast.
Cool.
Okay.
Крепость.
Krepast. Yeah. you pronounce it.
Молодец. That's good.
Yeah. Okay. So, do we have another point? So you told us about Russia.
You started to. You said that you've never been to Russia.
Yeah.
And you started to say something about your family, but I guess it was that you're exposed to all the cultures, including Russians. Is there anything special about those Russians that live there? And if you have Ukrainians there, do you see any difference in the way they? I mean, I understand that it's probably impossible to tell the difference from their face because we have the same faces, obviously. But if you know who's Russian, who's Ukrainian, do you see any difference in their behavior or in their attitude?
Not of the people I met. I only met a few Ukrainians, and they were like Russians for me. So
for your personal experience, it is true what I say. We are the same people.
Yeah, it's the experience I have made. They are like Russians. I couldn't tell them apart. I even met a guy last year, in August, who was born in Ukraine, but lived near Moscow. He has grown up there during the Soviet Union, and he came to Germany after the breakdown of the Soviet Union, and he's telling the same. There was no difference between Russians and Ukrainians. Yeah, of course nowadays.
That's how we perceive it.
Yeah, Ukraine is indoctrinated.
That's how Russians perceive it.
Yeah.
Ukrainians hate the very thought of that, but us as Russians, we see ourselves as the same people.
Yeah, it's the same perception in
Russia, Ukraine, Belarus. Yeah, these three countries, Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus, there is no difference between us. Yeah. Our language may be different a little bit, okay, but other than that, we're the same.
They speak Russian in Belarus, right? Do they speak Russian in Belarus?
They have their own language.
Okay.
No, they have their own language, but it is very similar to Russian. It's the difference in the way is mostly in the way they pronounce words and write them, but they are totally recognizable. It's akin to if I compare Dutch and German.
Okay.
Because Dutch is like weirdly written German. Really, very much. The words are very similar.
And weirdly pronounced German. Dutch is very funny.
Well, that's how we, the imperialistic Russia, see Belarus and Ukraine. Like, oh, your language is funny, but we also understand that it's the same language.
But however,
only it's a little different, and it might seem funny, but it's. Well, I don't know. I find both languages very beautiful, very musical.
Okay.
Because I'm a linguist and I kind of appreciate how the language is, and they try to grasp it as a whole. And even though I can find some Ukrainian words hilarious from the Russian standpoint, I still know that, and it's from the bottom of my heart, that this is one of the most beautiful languages that I've heard
You mean
in
Russian?
terms of its musicality and harmony. I
You
mean,
mean Russian?
Ukrainian and
Ukrainian?
harmony.
Okay.
And yes,
Huh?
yes, it's very soft. It's very musical. It's very beautiful.
Okay.
How it generally sounds. Yeah, and well, I don't know. I think what you see, what we are is our language. Everything in us is defined by our language. This is how we think. You see, you will find all this.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if you take German, it's the language of rules. Everything follows the rules. For God's sake, your girl is neutral because it ends with a hen. Every Mädchen can tell you that she's female, but no way she has to be das. Why? Because it ends with a hen, and no, that's the rule. We don't make an exception. That's as German as it gets. Russian is the language of exceptions. Every word is an exception. It's impossible to learn. Ukrainian, to me, how I perceive it, though I never really studied it, is the language of harmony, flowing, like
Okay.
like a river flowing harmony. That's Ukrainian. It's a very kind, definitely a feminine language to me.
Mm.
You know, it's like a warm embrace of your mom. That's how this language is in my perception. It's an incredibly beautiful language.
So that's actually
And you would expect Ukrainians to be kind and embracing and caring people. That's why what is done to them now is such a crime, because it's not them by their nature. It's like they were poisoned.
yeah.
Not all of them, but a big part of them were poisoned with something that is absolutely in every contrast that is possible to be what they are. But it's like there is a spell put on them. And they, being as us, as stubborn, as strong, as true to the core as Russians are, they go to the end with this indoctrination and this shit that is done to them. They don't stop, and they won't. And that's the major crime,
Again, there's nothing to
unfortunately.
contradict. There's nothing to contradict.
Yeah.
As you describe Ukrainian for a Russian, I have the same impression of French for German. Yeah, French is also a very soft language, a very fluent language. Most of the concert I had French for 5 years. I'm a terrible French speaker. I think if I learn Russian for 2 more years, I will outrun French by length. I think because I'm more interested in the language. So it's yeah, my impression of French. That's a very soft language and a very fluent language. So the impressions you gave about Ukrainian is the same impression I have of French. Okay,
Understand?
I have yeah, the last big point: humanitarian aid. So you said you're doing
Yes.
humanitarian aid. You're making it transparent. Yeah. So you're trying to show.
Well, you see, for example, with those boots that I made this collection of money directly to my card, I made an Excel sheet on Google Docs where I listed every donation that I received, and I listed every expense that I had in regards to this trip. So everything I spent for the boots, for the delivery of these boots, and further to Moscow, and there further for the delivery of these boots to the two different Donbass regions, because they were in Donetsk and in the LPR a little bit, mostly in Donetsk. So I listed everything that I received and everything that I spent. I do not have all the receipts, like physical receipts, because it is very often these days in Russia that we pay for something in terms of a bank transfer from card to card. So it doesn't look like it's a purchase. It looks like it's a transfer from one person to the other.
Mm-hmm.
So I will never have a proper accounting that would be perfect from the accounting standpoint in terms of my expenses. And I keep telling it to the people, you either trust me that I will not spend it on myself, or you don't. So if you trust me, that's my card, that's what I'm doing, go ahead. If you don't trust me, just don't send. No hard feelings, but it is very often that I will not be able to provide a physical receipt for something. And it might sound weird for a German. For Russians, it's how everything operates. People pay for stuff through bank transfers from card to card because it helps to avoid taxation. It helps, well, for whatever reasons. And it's absolutely normal, common, and it's throughout the whole country. So I list each expense that I make, but not for every expense that I have receipt. Those receipts that I have a folder on Google Docs, and the receipts are there, and the link to this folder is also next to the Excel. Well, it's the same folder where this Excel sheet lives on Google Docs.
Okay, so you're trying to be as transparent as possible, yeah, so the people can verify.
I cannot be more transparent.
Yeah.
I absolutely cannot be more transparent than this. But of course, it's not perfect.
Okay.
As perfect would be to have the receipts for every cent that you spend. That I don't have, but then nobody has that because it's impossible to have.
Okay. Do you receive donations from outside of Russia? Through John and Mike?
Yes, through John and Mike. Yes, John set up an account for me, a Buy Me a Coffee account, and Mike linked this account to his British account. So everything that gets to me to this coffee site automatically gets to Mike, and then he has his magic ways through crypto and whatnot to transfer it to his Russian account, and then he transfers to me. Yes,
So
I work with smart people.
He does
He does the heavy lifting in this regard.
Crypto magic. Yeah, you can call it crypto magic.
And to me, it all looks like a transfer from Mike.
Okay, so the last couple of days, you have a Telegram channel. It's can we link it? Your channel under the video? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so my Telegram channel was a nice small thing with 18 subscribers, a private channel where I posted my stupid photos or something like you would on a Facebook or whatever. And when I decided that I want to try to collect money for the boots, it was Igor Gomolsky, the journalist from Donetsk that I mentioned earlier, who told me, make your channel public and I shall repost your information, your channel, this call that for the money that you're making. So now it's a public channel with 500 something subscribers.
I'm one of them.
It grew up like that in audience. Yes, and of course I don't now think that I can post really private stuff there, and it now is more, well, it's public now, so I have this understanding that it's public. And this is also where I post all the links to the videos and small videos from the trips. So for me, it's exactly the way of reporting of what I'm doing with the money that I receive through coffee site and through direct donations.
Okay, you mentioned some other channels. I've noted some. Can you tell a bit about these channels? They have to do with a humanitarian aid, right? Dirty Harry.
Yeah, that's Igor Gomolsky. That's exactly him. That's his channel. Uh, he's he's a fantastic journalist. To him, it is also he is in Donetsk. It's his home. It's his quest, his fight for his homeland, and it is often that he promotes other people's channels when they try to collect money for something, for a certain cause. Like, for example, that's how I found this animal shelter in Lugansk. And I bought quite a lot of stuff for them for my personal money when I went there the previous time. So the last, but oh, how do I call it? When I delivered the couch, anyway, before the last trip, that's when I brought medicines for this animal shelter. And next trip that I want to do would have two purposes. It would be that animal shelter because it's 500 cats and several dogs, mostly cats, in Lugansk, and Severodonetsk. This is a small town in LPR, which is in the same condition as Mariupol, but people still live there, and unlike Mariupol, is not safe. So Mariupol is being restored, renovated. All the works are happening there. It's convenient to work there. It has hot water. It has electricity. It has everything. Severodonetsk does not, but people live there, and they need everything. So I want to make it the main goal of my next trip in the end of February.
Okay. So that was the place you were.
And I already have someone who's collecting clothes. And I have someone who's collecting medicine. So I will be gathering money for hygiene products and for food for these people, mostly.
Okay, and
Because the rest I will receive from other sources.
Okay, Severodonetsk is the place you've been at your first trip in August, very close to the front line. I remember it from the translation video.
That's true.
Yeah, it's west of Lugansk,
Yes.
north of Donetsk, somewhere in that region, yeah?
Yes, that's right. Northwest of Lugansk.
Okay.
And of course, northwest from Donetsk, obviously, yeah.
Projekt Buchanka. What's about that?
Yes. Okay, Buchanka project, it was originally done by a guy named Nikita Tretyakov, a journalist from St. Pete who went as a journalist to the Donbass in the very beginning of the war, of this special military operation, who saw what's going on, who went to Mariupol, who immediately understood that just being a journalist is not enough and he has to help. And he raised money, bought this Buchanka, because Buchanka is the ideal vehicle to deliver stuff there. It's the most popular vehicle for that. It's the most convenient one. And that's why it's Buchanka project. So he bought that Buchanka. And what he did, he lived in Donetsk all the time and during all that time. And he would fill it with food and hygiene products and would go places, all places where he could, throughout the whole region to deliver that stuff constantly. That was his mission. When the partial mobilization happened, he was mobilized. So he kind of gave this Buchanka over to a person who actually, her name is Yasmin. She's my friend and the friend of John's, and we introduced them to each other, Nikita and Yasmin, on this first trip in August, and we went together to Severodonetsk. And Yasmin and Nikita, they became friends. They began to work together because Yasmin is in the administration of DPR. She can get access to places. She can get military escort to get to places where she wouldn't be able to get as just a civilian, just a simple person. So she has these ways to go, say, for example, now she's looking for possibilities to get to Bakhmut or Artyomovsk, the Russian name.
Yeah.
And, well, it's in process. I don't know if it can happen right now or not, because, well, military comes first, military purposes. But still, humanitarian aid is needed there, of course. So she sort of inherited Nikita's Buchanka when Nikita was mobilized, and now she is doing that. This boots, for example, and the generator and this aid to the medical personnel. So everything that we delivered in this last trip to Donetsk area, to Donetsk soldiers, all of that is done with her, together with her. So she would know where to go, how many of what is needed where, and it will all coordinated by her. That's her continuation of the Nikita's Buchanka project. I'm sorry, that's one of the 7 cats who lives here. Porsche, уйди отсюда, пожалуйста.
It's okay.
Sorry.
It's no problem. It's no problem.
He wants to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's no problem. Ask her to say something.
We have 7, me at the moment, have 7 cats here and 4 dogs and 1 parrot and 1 owl. It's quite a lot of animals. And I'm here to feed them while their owners are away.
Okay, it's a refuge, yeah? It's a refuge, so you're also working with SEALs, the place you currently are.
That place where I am currently is my SEALs rehab, but the SEALs season has not started yet, so they're not born yet. Okay. It's too cold. They're gonna be born sometime closer to the end of February, beginning of March.
Okay. We have 2 other channels I've noted. The one is
but these people who have this SEALs... Sorry?
No, go ahead. Yeah, 2 other channels, but first go ahead with the sentence. It's more convenient not to get interrupted.
No, I was saying that the SEALs people, they, they also have animals at home besides SEALs, and that's who I listed, and they had to go away for a week, and I volunteered to come and feed them while they're away so that they could go.
So, is this the place you went in spring 2022 to flee from reality?
Yes. Okay. I come here every spring for, well, it will be the 5th year in a row this year, hopefully.
Okay. So we have 2 channels left. We talked about them, the channel of John and Mike. We talked about John. We talked about Mike, iEarlGrey.
Yes.
We will all list them underneath the video.
Yes.
I have a couple of more channels, but all on Telegram. About maybe you know them. Of course, you knew the channel of Stremousov, but this is obsolete because he has died last year. You took an interview. Yes. John took an interview with Stremousov.
Yes, we had an interview with him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, shortly before he had his accident. And some other channels, but currently
just a few days before. Yeah. We had a real live interview scheduled with him, and on our trip, we were on the way to the Donbass when we learned that he died. We were in transit there when he died, and we had an interview scheduled with him, the live one, not the online one. Yes.
Yeah, that was funny. I was watching his channel for a couple of months, and I was scanning through the channel, and suddenly I saw a video, and I know this guy who's standing there. Anyway, he had several videos with Thomas being posted there on his channel. So that was funny. Okay, I have several other. Jurij Prodolkoja, near Sevodnja, the channel. He's Ukrainian. No, okay.
No, that one I don't.
I'm going through all the channels. I have German channels, so it's simply to collect where you can get alternative information instead of direct media information. So I have a lot of channel. I'm reading then.
I'll get information I can send you the lists of these channels. It's quite a lot of them. It's Mariupol 24, but it covers not just Mariupol, but the whole area. It's Donbass Devushka. I mean, it's huge, 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 and it's in English. And I have, it's really quite a lot of them. So I can send you all of them. They're all Telegram channels, and they.
Yep.
Igor's also some military ones that are from the military personnel who post stuff, really useful as well. And I think Igor's channel is great because he does this. He reposts a lot because he obviously monitors everybody as a journalist, and he reposts the most important stuff there. Plus, of course, it's Eva Bartlett who does her part, and it's Thomas, and it's Graham Phillips, and it's Mike, and it's John, and it's everybody. You know, it's just if you want to read all of them, you won't have enough time in the day, enough hours in the day to read it all.
I know.
So much information is posted constantly. Yeah.
I know, because I have a lot of channels in my Ukrainian Russia folder, and it's completely information overdose. But however, I'm peeking into some channels and take an overview.
Yeah.
So we were at the Telegram channels. Okay. So we are. I wrote on my script. I wrote an invitation to join Telegram channels for German audience because.
Yeah. There's one channel that I want to point out as well that I haven't mentioned yet. It is the Telegram channel of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Lugansk People's Republic. Yep. And this is where the channel that Vladislav Nikolaevich Deinega gave us. And we did a collaboration with them when Mike, John, and Vladislav Nikolaevich recorded an appeal to the people of the West to wish something good for the people of Lugansk People's Republic and Lugansk city. And the response was overwhelming. There were thousands and thousands of wishes from all over the world, you know. The only request was state your name and where you're from. The country where you're from or the town where you're from. I mean, whatever you feel comfortable. From all over the world, everywhere. People would say, we understand what is going on. We stand with you. We wish you all the best. We wish this war to be over. We know that you are not separatists. We know that you're on the right side of the history, you know, from everywhere. It was so incredible. I will send you the links to these very videos on both channels of Mike's and John's so that you would see the real comments. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs of LPR translated all of them into, well, most of them, I think, into Russian and just posted them there day after day after day diligently because it is so important for the people of Donbass to feel the support, to know that they're not alone, to know that they're not alone in this fight, that they're not abandoned, that the world cares, notices them, and doesn't just listen to what Ukraine is saying, but actually listening to them too, to the other side, and supports them. It's incredibly important. And that's what Mike and John are doing together, you know? And it's another part that Thomas told me, that's your duty to deliver that message, because neither Mike nor John can do it from Russian into English, you know? It's that.
Yeah.
So
it's an important job for you.
They are really. It's really amazing to read the comments for those two videos. I mean, it's the same video. It posted on two channels, so to read comments on both of them. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
because it shows how united we are in this. And I keep telling it to everybody. We are in. Yeah, I will. We are in this together. The whole world is in this together. It's not just Donbass or just Russia. It's everybody. Huh. And we all can do something. And if we unite, then there's really a lot that we can do. And all these trips that John and Mike and myself, and later just myself, were made are a proof of that.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to make a call for some donations?
Well, actually, I think it's a good idea. My next project is Severodonetsk, and it's helping people, bringing help to people who live there in spite of the horrendous conditions, because it's a dead city, but people remain there, they live there, and we are talking maybe 1,000 to 2,000 people easily. So I have sources that would provide clothes and medicine. What I want to buy is mostly food and hygiene products for people, as well as water and warm stuff like blankets and socks and well, anything in that regard. So like inserts for the boots, you know, this stelki that you put under your feet inside the boots, you know, those things. And of course, stuff for children. And another, as a part of it, is my new ones. It's an animal shelter in Lugansk. It's about 500 cats, and I honestly don't know how many dogs. Well, less in a number, but it's mostly cats. It calls Cats Home. It's called Cats Home.
Yeah, I read about that.
Koshkin Dom. Yeah, in Lugansk area. I discovered them recently, and in my trip with the couch, I delivered medicines and some medical food, but mostly medicines and syringes there for about 50,000 rubles. It's not much when we talk about 500 animals, but it's something. So it's two things that I want to unite together in one trip: this animal shelter and Severodonetsk huge project. So if anyone wants to contribute, please go ahead. If you have a well, German account, then use Buy Me a Coffee site. If you have a Russian account, then use my card. And again, like I did with boots, I will make this Excel sheet with the listing of everything that I received to my card. And whatever is through the coffee site, I get it as in chunks through Mike. So I just put it like this. So much received from that site through Mike, like this. So it's not a name by name information. It's by bits that he transfers to me when he can.
Okay.
And then it's the full report of all expenses of what I bought, how much I spent for this and that. You know, it's all there. I already posted it in my Telegram channel about the boots, so you can see how it looks.
Okay, we are roughly done. Is there anything you want to tell people in Germany, the viewers of this video? Something?
Well, something that I said before, we are in this together. We are trying to fight for justice and for the good thing in whatever ways possible, not necessarily through weapons, but through help, through spreading of the information, through spreading of the story of the people who live in Donbass. And we should continue to do that, because God has no other hands but ours. You know, it can only be done through us. And I am so grateful to everyone to prove it to me, you know, because in my own experience, I lived through it to see this unique union of the whole world, how everyone is trying to help, how everyone wants to be a part of it, no matter where these people are, be it Germany or be it England or be it US or be it Australia, from everywhere. And I'm sorry if I didn't mention some country. It's not on purpose. It's just try to show that it's through the whole world.
Okay, this is German.
You know,
Switzerland and Austria.
we have to fight back. Of course, and Switzerland and Austria and, and Belgium and Netherlands and everywhere. You know, we have to fight back against this horrendous global machine that is working against us on the side of this evil, you know, and that's the only way.
I hope so. I hope so.
Yeah.
I think we will succeed. It will take a long time, but we will succeed. I'm sure.
Well, you have to have faith, otherwise, why do it?
That's what we talked about recently, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
Spasiba, Masha.
Danke sehr.
Danke sehr.
Ja. Danke, Carsten.
Yeah, and we will stay in touch. Yeah,
Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure.
Thanks a lot. It was
Okay.
really it was a pleasure to listen to you. Yeah, it was a pleasure to translate the
Me
video.
too, to talk to you.
Yeah, great. Okay, thanks a lot. And maybe
Thank you.
maybe we will meet somewhere in Germany, in Russia.
Somewhere in Germany, in Russia, in Donbass. We'll
You
see.
have an
It's a long
invitation.
life.
You have an invitation. Yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe I want to see 3 Russian cities: Petersburg, Moscow, and Sochi.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Sochi.
Yeah.
Add Vladivostok to this list by all means.
Vladivostok. That's far away.
Yes. If you talk cities, yes. If you talk cities, and if you talk nature, add Lake Baikal, add Altai Mountains, add Kamchatka, add Karelia. Oh my God, add so many places. Yeah.
It will take a long time to see it all. I think I've
That's
seen
true.
I've not seen very much of I've seen very much of Germany, but I told you I've been to Hamburg once, and I've never been downtown Hamburg.
Really?
I've never been downtown Hamburg.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been to I had a girlfriend in Berlin. Uh, Cologne 2 or 3 times. Munich, I don't like Munich so much. A couple of times, but I've not seen very many German cities, big cities, and so
Well,
Russia is a foreign country. I think we start with Petersburg, Moscow, and Sochi.
and then we'll see from there.
We'll see from there. If this madness...
Like we say, it's one stop of a taxi, it's one stop on a plane.
Okay. Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you too.
See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Yep. Bye. I'm sorry. Valera, замолчи. I am in a place with a lot of animals. I'm
know.
Sorry, sometimes. Let's wait for him to shut up. He'll come down.
Okay. When Thomas is doing his Tacheles show with you know Robert Stein? You know him?
No.
He has been in a show together with Thomas at John's channel. I've translated this as well, and so Robert has a couple of dogs, and Thomas also has a dog, a big one. Yeah. And sometimes
they all want to be a part of the interview, right?
Yeah. They sometimes they're in the they're on camera, and Robert Stein made an own show of it called Gassi TV. So where he goes on a walk with his dogs, and he tells stories about international politics while walking at the river. So okay, let's proceed.